Every month you save your money, do the responsible thing, and watch your balance grow. And every month, without knowing it, you are getting poorer. I've spent 4 decades watching good people make this exact mistake. They save, they budget, they do everything they're told. But there's a silent force working against every dollar sitting in that account. By the time we're done today, you'll understand exactly what that force is, and more importantly, what the numbers look like when you fix it. Number 4 on this list surprises almost everyone who sees it. Inflation is not an abstract number on a government report. It's the reason your grocery cart feels lighter even when you spend the same amount. Over the past several years, the average American household has seen the real cost of everyday goods rise by more than 20%. Your standard savings account has returned less than 1% in that same window. The national average savings account pays 0.46% annually. Inflation has been running above 3%. That's a negative real return of nearly 2.75% on every dollar you leave parked in a standard savings account. In plain terms, while your balance number goes up, the actual purchasing power of that money goes down. You're losing ground while doing the responsible thing. Over the past 50 years, the S&P 500 has returned an average of 10.7% annually. That gap between a savings account and an index fund compounds into extraordinary differences over time. $10,000 invested in a broad index fund at age 25, never touched, grows to roughly $745,000 by age 65 at historical averages. That same $10,000 in a savings account at 0.46%, just under $12,600. Same money, 40 years, a difference of over $730,000. Here's what your bank does the moment your paycheck hits that savings account. They take your deposit and lend it out as mortgages at 7 or 8%, personal loans at 12, credit cards at 24. They are running a business, a very profitable one. And the 0.46% they pay you is their cost of using your money. You are the raw material. You deposit $1,000. Your bank lends that money as a personal loan at 18% and collects $180 in interest by year end. They hand you back $4.60. That is not a savings partnership. That is a business arrangement that runs entirely in one direction, and it has been that way since the first savings account was opened. The bank is not your financial partner. It is your tenant, and you are charging almost no rent. This gap is not accidental. Banks have structured savings accounts specifically to hold your money at minimal cost while they deploy it at maximum return. The checking account, the standard savings account, these products were never designed to grow your wealth. They were designed to keep your money accessible for you while making your money highly productive for the bank. Understanding this reframes every decision about where you park your cash. Now, before you close your savings account tomorrow, I want to be clear. Savings accounts do have a purpose. They're exactly the right place for your emergency fund. 3 to 6 months of essential expenses that need to stay liquid. The mistake is not having a savings account. The mistake is treating it as an investment vehicle. It was never designed to be one, and using it that way costs you more than most people realize. Here is a simple filter for every dollar you have sitting in a bank. If it is your emergency fund, liquid money for unexpected expenses, it belongs in a high-yield savings account. Several federally insured options currently offer between 4.5 and 5%, which actually keeps pace with moderate inflation. If you need the money within 2 years, a certificate of deposit or high-yield account still makes sense. But anything beyond that 2-year window has a cost of opportunity that savings account returns cannot justify. The word investing intimidates people who picture traders screaming on a Wall Street floor. That image has nothing to do with what actually builds wealth for ordinary people. The most proven wealth-building mechanism in modern financial history involves no stock picking, no market timing, no financial degree, and no daily attention. It requires an index fund, a low fee, and the discipline to leave it alone. An index fund buys a fractional share of every company in an index. When you invest in an S&P 500 index fund, you own a small piece of Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, and 497 other major American companies simultaneously. When those companies grow collectively, your investment grows. When they temporarily fall, your investment falls temporarily. But over every 20-year rolling period in U.S. stock market history, the market has recovered and surpassed its previous high every single time without exception. This timeline shows what compound interest looks like when it works in your favor. $10,000 at 25 becomes $27,735 without a single additional deposit. By 45, it crosses 76,000. By 55, it's past 200,000. At 65, it approaches $750,000. You didn't need a financial advisor, a hot stock tip, or a high income. You needed to start early, choose a low-cost index fund, and not interfere. Here is the other side of compound interest, the one that's silently damaging more American households than almost any other financial force. The same mathematical engine that turns $10,000 into $745,000 in an index fund is also the engine turning a $1,000 credit card balance into a decade-long financial trap. Compound interest does not take sides. It simply accelerates whatever direction your money is already moving. At 24% APR, the current national average for credit cards, a $1,000 balance making only minimum payments, grows to $8,594 over 10 years. You borrowed $1,000 and paid back nearly 9 times that amount. This is why high-interest debt must be eliminated before serious wealth building begins. It is mathematically impossible to build net worth faster than a 24% annual loss compounds against you. Paying off high-interest debt is the single highest guaranteed return available in personal finance. If you eliminate a balance charging 24%, you have just earned a guaranteed 24% return on that money, because that is the compounding loss you've stopped. No index fund, no stock, no investment of any category offers a guaranteed 24%. When someone asks whether to invest or pay off credit card debt, this comparison ends the debate. I want to say something honest here. Most people who watch videos like this already know they should be investing. They've heard the index fund argument. What actually stops them isn't a knowledge gap. It's the very real feeling that after the bills are paid, there's nothing left to invest. That feeling is valid. But in the vast majority of cases, it's the result of a spending structure that has specific, fixable leaks. The average American household spends 93 cents of every dollar earned on living expenses. That leaves 7 cents per dollar for saving and investing. And most households aren't consistently hitting even that. The problem is rarely reckless spending. It's that modern financial life has been engineered to capture your income. Subscription service auto-renew quickly. Lifestyle inflation follows every raise like a shadow. The money doesn't disappear, it gets redirected without your conscious approval. This is the sequencing that makes mathematical sense. And it's the order most fee-only financial advisors who aren't selling anything will recommend. The $1,000 starter fund prevents you from putting emergency expenses on a credit card and resetting your debt progress. Eliminating high-interest debt next guarantees the highest available return. Then the employer 401k match comes before everything else, because turning down an employer match is the equivalent of declining a 50 to 100% instant return on your money. That should be the single most offensive financial mistake in America. The end goal here is not a number in a brokerage account. It's the point where your investments generate more income than your annual expenses require. The moment work becomes a choice rather than a necessity. Financial independence is not a fantasy reserved for high earners. It is a mathematical milestone, and it has been reached by people on ordinary salaries who simply understood the mechanics earlier than their peers. You've likely heard of the 50-30-20 rule. 50% to essential needs, 30% to lifestyle spending, 20% to saving and investing. As a starting framework, it's reasonable. But anyone serious about closing the gap between where they are and financial independence should consider reversing the last two categories. 20% to lifestyle, 30% to investments. The math over a working career makes the case for that shift better than any argument I could give you. On a $60,000 annual salary, saving 20% and investing it at a 7% real return for 30 years produces $612,000 at retirement. Increasing that rate to 30% produces $917,000. That $305,000 difference was not created by a higher income, a stock tip, or better timing. It came from redirecting roughly $500 extra per month away from purchases that would have produced no lasting value. The math on this is straightforward. The behavior is where the work lives. That extra $500 per month doesn't have to come from sacrifice. The average American household now spends over $200 monthly on subscription services, a significant portion of which they no longer actively use. One honest subscription audit, a slightly more practical car payment, one fewer restaurant meal per week. The money is almost certainly already there. It simply hasn't been assigned a job that matches your actual goals. These 5 patterns are so common, they've become invisible. Most households have at least 3 of them operating simultaneously. Forgotten subscriptions are a slow bleed of $100 to $300 monthly for services that stopped delivering value months ago. Minimum credit card payments can extend a balance over a decade. And not collecting your full employer match is turning down guaranteed returns, which is the most quietly expensive mistake I see among people with good incomes and low net worth. I've sat across from people who earned $40,000 a year and retired with more than $1 million. And I've sat across from people who earned over $200,000 a year and arrived at 65 with almost nothing. The income was not the defining variable. The behavior was. What percentage of your earnings you keep, and what you do with what you keep, matters far more than what the number on your paycheck says. 2 people invest $400 every month in an identical index fund. Person A starts at 25. Person B starts at 35. At retirement, person A has $1.1 million. Person B has $480,000. The 10-year head start created a $620,000 difference, not from investing more, not from investing better, but purely from starting earlier. This is why every financial advisor says to start now, even with a small amount. $50 a month started today is worth more to your future than $500 a month started 5 years from now. For steps, that is the complete starting framework. Open a high-yield savings account today. Multiple federally insured options currently offer above 4%. Write down every debt you carry and the interest rate on each, then direct every extra dollar toward the highest rate balance first. Set up your 401k contribution to capture the full employer match at minimum. Then open a brokerage account. Choose a broad market index fund with an expense ratio under 0.2% and automate a monthly contribution. Automation matters because the biggest obstacle to investing is not money. It's remembering to do it. The people who build lasting wealth are not, as a rule, the smartest people in the room. They're the people who understood one thing early, that money is a tool. And like any tool, it is either working for you or against you at all times. A savings account paying you less than inflation is money working against you quietly, compounding in the wrong direction every single day. The correction is simple. The follow-through is where most people stop. But now you know exactly what the numbers look like on both sides of that decision. Financial literacy was not taught in schools because an informed consumer is a less profitable consumer. Everything covered today is documented, measurable, and reproducible. The mechanics of compound interest, the math on index funds versus savings accounts, the sequencing of debt payoff before investing. None of it changes based on your background or your zip code. It changes only based on what you decide to do next. If this video changed how you think about where your money sits, share it with someone who needs to hear it. The message I get most often on this channel is, I wish someone had told me this at 25. You can be that person for someone in your life today. Subscribe if you want to keep building on this foundation. Every video on this channel is designed to give you the next piece. I'll see you in the next one.